What is the dumbest thing you have ever done while high? I walked into a fast food place. Made a huge order. I got all my food and drink. Sat my food on a table and went to use the bathroom. Then I walked out and went home and didn't realize what I did for at least 2 hours. Saw a huge spider on the wall and decided the best way to kill it was with a straight leg lunge. I put a gigantic hole in the wall. And I have no idea what happened to the spider. My friend and I were into cooking high. For a while. Got high. Cooked ourselves the biggest meal possible. And eat with a good movie. Well, one evening we decide to go for the biggest lasagna ever. Everything is super tasty. We layer the out of that lasagna in a deep ceramic dish, is that the term? In the oven for some minutes. Very high temperature. Something like 40 minutes and a joint later. I go to the oven. Smell the tasty deliciousness emanating from it. And it seems to be perfect. I put an oven mitt on my left hand. Open the oven door. And full on grab the dish with my right hand. My first thought. Don't let go and break it. Put it down calmly. I mean, I could have let go immediately and broken the dish. That would have been annoying but not painful. Or set the dish back on the tray and switched hand. You know. Small burn. You're an idiot. Live on. But no. I decided to keep that lava-hot dish in my unprotected hand for a few seconds. And I could, too, if I pull the same stunt while sober. I'm guessing I'll just let go by reflex. Without even thinking. But no. I could clearly think, okay. Don't break anything. Set it down on the counter and get some water. Dumbass. I earned the biggest visible scar I'll, hopefully, ever have. A shitload of pain for a few days. And the best oven-related story in my life. Not the best weed-related story though. But that's for another thread. TLDR. Cooking a lasagna. I put an oven mitt on my left hand. Grabbed the dish with my right hand. And decided not to risk breaking the meal and hold on to it. I ordered 2 pigs off a Craigslist after a back operation when I was still out of it. I once went into an old railway tunnel in a small town in the UK to have an adventurous smoke. It was huge and deep underground and ran for at least 5 miles. We climbed in and explored. And were greeted by a farmer with a rifle on our way out who claimed it was private property. Prone to caving in, and covered in dangerous mold. The idea of being caved into a deep underground tunnel where no one would ever find us was terrifying. Don't explore underground tunnels unless you know they are safe. If anyone is interested in pics of the tunnel. 28dayslater.co.uk. Poured myself a nice bowl of Coca-Cola. I was in my car hotboxing alone at like 2 a.m. in a wooded parking area. All of a sudden I thought a crazy person was vigorously shaking my car for 5 seconds. Got out and no one was around. I was seriously questioning my sanity at that point. Didn't realize until I saw the news next morning that there was a 5.0 earthquake overnight and that I didn't smoke laced bath salts. I get fairly paranoid when I smoke. Once I was smoking with a coworker and his roommate and I realized I was very high. My first thought was, I can't let them know I am high. I realized shortly after that they were also high, so thusly I couldn't let them know how high I was. The logical course of action was to walk an hour home. On the way home I was going to stop at Tim Hortons and get a coffee to try and balance me out. As I approached the door I realized they may notice I am high and inform the authorities. So I left. I saw a cop car go past and decided they were looking for me. I go to my bed and lay down, mentally preparing for my life as a fugitive. Only to realize I am in my late 20s. Pot is legal in Canada. And the people I was smoking with wouldn't have cared that I was super high. It sounds dumb until you really start to think about it, but the first time I did shrooms I did quite a bit. So I was tripping for almost 15 hours straight. In the middle of it I went on a rant about doors and walls. I went into great detail about how I thought that walls were a thing of the past and got upset that we haven't converted all walls to doors by now. You want a wall? Close the door. You decide that you're tired of that one wall? Open the door. My friend and I were high while switching classes in high school. I started moving my arms in a circular motion and I told her, "I feel like a train." She walked behind me, doing the same thing, and we were both whispering chugga chugga chugga. Coincidentally, this was also the last time I smoked. Good times. Back in the day I used to read a lot. This was before phones were very good. Now I read Reddit a lot instead of books. I had been reading for a while that day and was over halfway through this great paperback novel. I went to get something from the kitchen, and when I came back I couldn't find my book. I looked everywhere and just couldn't find it. I was so bummed. It didn't turn up that day. It was like 3 days later that I went to the kitchen for some ice and opened the freezer. There was my book in the freezer door. Stood in an elevator for about 5 minutes before realizing that no one pressed any buttons. Thought I lost my 3D vision, so walked around touching things to make sure they were still 3D. On vacation in California with my brothers and some friends, and we were all helping make dinner. It was some bomb as bacon mac and cheese. My job was to chop up the bacon. Well, I ate 2 edibles at the beginning of dinner prep, and by the time the bacon was done in the oven, I was the one fully baked. I spent an eternity tearing the bacon into tiny pieces by hand and complaining how hot it was the whole time. Only when I was finished did somebody suggest I should have used a knife. My time to shine. I tried to convince myself that I could ride a bike without touching the pedals. Ended up catching my foot in the gears and getting an 1-inch long cut on my ankle. Would not recommend. I dunno about dumbest, but the most memorable experience of being high was this time a friend brought over weed gummy bears. They were pretty powerful, so we're all very high sitting in my front room and somebody suggests we do nose. So we set up the balloons and for some reason decide to put the Pirates of the Caribbean music on my TV while we do it. So I pass the remote to my friend who sets it up and we start the music and do the balloons. I don't really remember what happened, but we were. When I came back to myself I realized that my TV had been turned to max volume. And this is one that you only ever need at around 15 or so when it goes to 100. I was worried my neighbors would get pissed, so turned to my friend who set it up and told him to turn down the TV like now. He just stared back at me and went, "Dude, you have the remote." And so I did. Apparently I'd sat there turning up the volume, chuckling and saying, "It's pirates." One time, while on acid, I was super excited because I thought I invented orange juice. I wrote my idea down and everything. Thought for sure I would make it big. Sobered up and realized orange juice already exists. Believed in school. Went to college. Got a career. Never again. Half a year ago I was invited to a birthday party. The party was in the center of a small town in the youth center and we were pretty loud the whole time. At around 1 p.m. we went on the roof of the building and started to smoke some joints. In the country I live in it's illegal to own weed, so it wasn't the smartest move. Right when we finished and dropped the joint on the ground, we were now in the yard. Some policemen came over. Me and all the other guys who smoked went inside. The police came in too, and asked which one of us was smoking outside. I was high at the time and thought, if I answer all their question they would eventually let us continue. Because we hid the weed and they had no proof except the smell. So I went outside with them. My friends standing a few meters away to hear the talk. Police officer 1. What were you doing? Me. We were smoking a cigarette. PO1. Why did you take turns? Me. Because it was the last we had. PO1. And why are your eyes so red? Me. I am tired. Everyone understood that they were just trying to intimidate me. After that they wanted to go. But I don't know why. Maybe I found the situation funny. But I started giggling like an idiot. They came back and asked me again. PO2. Are you in possession of drugs? Me. If I had any drugs, would you be interested in buying them? That's when hell went loose. My friends' shocked faces. The police officers dragging me to the side, threatening me with arrests and other things. And me immediately realizing what I have done. The police eventually realized that I was just an idiot trying to be cool, so they went away. But I just felt like an idiot that night. Back when I was in college, I took this science fiction literature class, and one day our professor said she was going to do a night screening of Moon if we wanted to come watch. I had heard great things about that movie. So I definitely wanted to go, and so did my girlfriend and a couple of other friends of mine. Before going, my friends and I were smoking a bunch of weed and watching Futurama. The last episode we watched was The Late Philip J. Fry, which include this scene, comb.io, in the opening of Bender singing. That song got really stuck in my head and I kept singing it to myself throughout the episode. We smoked one last spliff and head to go see the movie. The screening was going TKB in this small classroom auditorium, and we sat kind of near the middle to get the best view. There were some technical issues that the teacher couldn't figure out, and there were like 3 other kids from my class trying to help her out with it. I was so stoned and really bored. So I leaned over to my girlfriend and started quietly singing Hambone to her. Or so I thought. She slugs me in the arm and tells me to be quiet because everyone is looking. Apparently, I was singing it much louder than I thought I was, and everyone was indeed looking at us, and all I could do was laugh. My girlfriend struggled to hold back her laughter too now, and my buddies that had come with us joined in. Now it was super obvious that we were all completely stoned, laughing at pretty much nothing. I threw my socks in the trash instead of the laundry basket. Twice. They weren't even in the same room. Turned the TV down to taste food easier. Using my phone as a light to look for my phone. Snapped my elbow whilst trying to backflip. Quite a bad break. Lost full use of that arm forever and regularly in pain as a result. I was scrolling through my phone settings to find some music. That's not as funny as your comments, but that thing confused me. In the middle of a board game. I stood up to get another beer a few feet from the game table. But had to remove the gallon of milk from the fridge to get the beer. I picked up the jug. And matched eyes with a non-high friend of mine. For some reason thought I'd make him laugh by pretending to pour the milk on my head. The cap was not on the jug properly. My friend watches stoned me took a gallon of milk and poured it on my head. Everyone was just as confused as I was, as there was no rhyme or reason for any of it. My explanation for why it happened wasn't very valid. Listening to music with headphones for an hour before realizing the headphones weren't even plugged in and I was just blasting it through my phone.